Hello everyone, I'm Joe Ackourey, and welcome to the Fly of the Week. For this episode, episode 10, I'll be tying a Parachute Adams dry fly. So let's get started. Step number 1, placing the hook in the vise. Making sure that the shank of the hook is parallel to the tabletop. Alright, now, the first thing we're going to do is determine where the wing is, or the post for this fly. And it goes as follows. You wrap your thread to the center of the shank of the hook, like so. Clip off the excess thread. Now wrap back up the shank about halfway. So you wrap from the eye to the halfway point of the shank, and then wrap back up to the halfway of what you wrapped. And that's exactly where the wing is, or the post is going to be set. Now the material can vary for this fly. You can use just about anything, calf tail, polywing material. For this lesson, I'm going to use polywing material. So we first have to determine the length of the wing, and the length of the wing for this fly, and most of my dry flies, are from the eye of the hook back to the very end of the shank of the hook, just like that. And now position that right in that sweet spot. Secure it with a couple of wraps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Clip off the excess on an angle, and then secure those. Secure that, covering all that material. The reason why I clip it off on an angle is you can see how nicely tapered down it goes. Now, make sure your thread is right up against the post. Now I'm going to orient the hook straight down now, with the shank now being perpendicular to the tabletop. Now, we have to create the post a nice area where the hackle is going to be attached to eventually, and you just wrap it around, just like that, and build up about 1/8 of an inch worth of foundation of thread. I like to cut to the chase and just spin my bobbin up like that. Some of you have already seen me do that a million times at various shows, but it makes the job a lot quicker. So there's your foundation for your hackle. There's your post. Now reorient the hook so that it's parallel with the shank is parallel with the tabletop. And our next step is placing the tails on. So you need to get your thread to the back of the shank of the hook, pretty much right where the bend and the shank meet. Yeah, right about there. Now, this is a two-step process, 2 materials. Just like in your traditional Adams, we're going to use, for the tail, a Grizzly Hackle fibers and a brown Hackle fibers. So, you know the rule. Draw the fibers down until the Hackle fibers are perpendicular to the stem. And I think I like that bunch there. They line up fairly good. So using the tips of my finger, I'm going to grab just a little tiny bit of it, like maybe 1/4 inch worth, and gather those. Now we're going to do the same, repeat the same process for the brown hackle. Draw the fibers down until they're perpendicular to the stem, just like that. There's a good bunch there. Just a little bit. So now I'm going to join those two. Obviously the Grizzly looks a little longer, so I'm going to have to stretch that out a little bit with the brown to make them even. There you go. And combine them. There's your tail. So now we have to attach this tail using the same techniques as we used in previous lessons or episodes. The length of the tail must equal the shank of the hook, including the eye. That looks really good there. So I'm going to transfer that to my other hand and secure. A little short there. There we go. Keep it on top of the shank. Yep. And now blend that your wraps in with the excess wing material that we did previously, so that it has a nice smooth transition. There's a slight taper to that. You can see that. So far we have the tails and the wing on this fly, or the tail and the post in this case. I like to kick a couple wraps under the tail to flare it out. Maybe 3 or 4 wraps, fan out my tail, and then lock it in with a couple more wraps on top. And there you have it. Now for the body. The body is made out of Muskrat fur blend. And just like that. And you want to use as least amount as possible to cover the entire shank of the hook. And we're going to dub this on the thread. Like such. Like so. Back and forth. Squeezing the life out of it to form a nice dubbing noodle. And all my fur blends, including the buggy stuff, do not require wax. You can see how nice they're dubbed. They dub on. Slide that into position. Begin building your body. I'm going to throw a wrap under the tails. And then on top. Get that little bit of fuzz out of there. Here we go. Careful with the barb or the point of the hook. Just gradually go up the shank, slightly overlapping to start to build your taper. And you're going to repeat this process all the way up to the eye of the hook. Keep capturing a couple of those fibers from the post. Okay, I'm going to need a little bit more. Repeat the process of dubbing some more Muskrat blend. Form a nice noodle, tight noodle. Slide it in position. Go in the front of the post and go right up to the eye. I'm going to come back a little bit. I need just to add a tiny bit more. Okay. Very good. Now lean it up against the back of the post and then reorient your hook. Let me fix that tail a little bit. There we go. Reorient your hook perpendicular to the tabletop again with the thread resting right on the post. I'm just going to build the post a little bit bigger. I see it's just a little bit shy of where I think it should be. Okay, now, this is a size 12 hook, and I've selected 2 size 12 hackles. Again, brown and grizzly. The rule is you want your hackle length, your hackle fiber length equal to 1.5 gaps. 2 gaps at the most. So from where the hackle fiber meets the stem all the way out should be about 1.5 gaps to 2 gaps. So we have to prepare this hackle. And you can see there's a lot of downy fuzz here. So we want to get rid of that, exposing the stem. You just slide your fingers down, exposing the stem, removing those hackle fibers. You do that to the brown hackle and the grizzly hackle. Repeat this process. There we go. We have our 2 hackles ready to go. Line them up so that their stems and hackle fibers meet at the same point. Notice that there's a natural curve to these feathers. When you're tying posted flies, like this parachute Adams, you want to tie it so that the curve of this feather comes toward you as the tire. And you want to grab the post and secure those hackles, both of them at the same time, on that post. Okay, very good. Clip off your stems. Put a couple more securing wraps on there so they don't pull out on you when you're tying. And now you're going to take your brown hackle first with your hackle pliers. I'm a little leery about this brown hackle. It looked like it rolled when I tied it in, but hopefully it'll orient itself perfectly. and begin wrapping on the post. You can see how much easier it is to wrap a hackle when you orient your hook this way. 4 or 5 wraps should do fine. Really nice. It looks good, actually, really good now. Now secure your hackle right up against the base of the post. 4 or 5 wraps. Whoops, got a little crazy there with that wrap. There we go. Clip off your excess. Now, grab your Grizz. Just wrap it in within all those areas that have gaps. Secure that. Clip off your excess Grizzly hackle. And any other hackle fibers that don't line up with the main group. And tie your finishing knot. You want to tie that right at the base of the hackle. I'm sorry, at the base of the post. Clip off your thread. Put a little bit of glue on the finishing knot on both sides. Look at the fly to make sure that all the fibers are lining up. There's a couple here I could see. Get rid of that one there. A couple here. 1 or 2 on this side. Now, what I like to do, and watch this closely, guys, is compress the hackles that are wrapped around the post, and any one of those fibers or any of those fibers that don't line up with the rest of the group, get rid of. All right. Looks pretty good so far. And now for a final step, what I like to do is take a drop of super glue and apply it to my needle, my dubbing needle, and just hit the top of the post with that on both sides. And carefully and quickly give it a little push down, and then I'm going to even out this post a little bit better. A couple stray fibers there. Great fly, the Adams parachute. Very well-known pattern. It imitates a variety of insects, including the slate drake. Thank you for joining me on this episode, and looking forward to seeing you on the next. Tight lines, guys.